Hello and welcome to another Demon 212 WiiUWare review. As much as many people seem to hate that I say that, but at the end of the day, I can't think of a better name to call them, and I'm not just going to say eShop because there's got to be something to differentiate between a Wii U game, a WiiWare game, a DSiWare game, and a 3DS game. So that I'd rather just add the word "ware" after everything. It was good enough for Nintendo at the end of the day. So today I'm going to be taking a look at NES REMIX, a game I both love and hate at the same time. I both adore and detest. I both like and dislike. And it really is a game of two halves. It's like completely 50-50 in my mind. There's parts of it that I think, oh, this is brilliant, this is genius, and then there's parts of it I think, this is so awful, why am I still playing? And then there's parts where I realise, but you are still playing, and you have been still playing for about 5-6 hours now. There's something deeply addictive about this game, even though it's one of the biggest heaps of crap I've ever played sometimes, and other times it's completely brilliant. Basically, to start off, you've got 16 different games you can play through from the NES, and every game has puzzles, and overall you've got something like, I think it's just over 200 puzzles, I believe, and it's just one of those things that everything is slightly, well, it's a part of a section of a real game. I mean, playing through Zelda, you actually have to play through Zelda. It just like, it puts you on the key moment, so it's just like, do the first dungeon, second dungeon, third dungeon, then get this item, then get the item, and then you have to go through, and overall, by doing all the puzzles, you've essentially beaten The Legend of Zelda without doing the majority of the, like, all the legwork and that, all of the backtracking and things like that. There's sections of Excite Bike where you've got to do a race, and there's Balloon Fight where you've just got to pop enemies and that, or do the bonus game where you've got to do the full bonus game in a certain time. And that's all this ever is. It's nothing at all like WiiUWare, which is why at first I wasn't liking it, because WiiUWare, they're micro games, they're tiny, minute parts of games and based on things, whereas on this it's just like break all the walls to beat the puzzle. Well, that's basically just beating a level. You know, it's beating a level on Wrecking Crew, and that's why some parts of this work really well and they're really good, because some parts of NES games were inadvertently, it seems, designed for this sort of gameplay, and it works great. But then there's other things like get a hole-in-one on the NES golf game, which is just, it's all down to luck, and it really doesn't half annoy me when games are down to luck, and there's so many on this that do revolve around luck that there's just times that you just think, well, why am I even bothering playing this? Because nothing I do is going to prevent the outcome. It's just going to be whether or not it wants me to do it or not. And it's just things like that it's why I both love and hate the game. It's why I don't want a second game to come out, and I do. Because they could now essentially do this around SNES games. I don't know if they'll be able to do N64 because the emulation of that's a bit shoddy. It's something that I had trouble with the VC in general, so I don't know if they'll be able to do it, but they'll be able to do SNES games. There's an eShop symbol actually on the screen, and that would suggest to me that there's DLC. And quite frankly, I'd actually love some DLC from other devs. I'd love it if Konami joined the game, you know, and they went, right then, here's some puzzles designed around Castlevania, Contra, Gradius, Life Force, a couple of other stalwarts of the NES, well, the NES gaming days, I suppose. You know, there's just so much that could be done with it, and there's some that I'd think would work really well, but then there's other stuff that I think, well, it would just be, And it's what I mean. I mean, there isn't really a I love this game or I hate this game outright thought in me. There are times when I sit and play it and I just constantly get so agitated by it and think, why did I sit and play that for 3 hours? But then there's times where I'm thinking, holy, have I really just played that for 3 hours? It's just mental. I think for what you're getting, it's therefore both overpriced and underpriced, because if you've played all these NES games to death, you're not really going to be seeing anything new. You're just going to basically be getting rewards for stuff that you used to do that was it'll probably be mundane to you. I mean, I've always played the hell out of Excite Bike, so I was quite good at these ones, and I was playing them and enjoying them, and all the time I kept thinking, well, what's the point really, because I could just be playing Excite Bike. There's then other times where I've never actually beaten the original Legend of Zelda. I never got around to it. It's just something I wasn't enjoying it that much. probably ruined it myself by playing the newer ones first, so it's something that I can never go back to. So it was quite cool going through and just like beat this dungeon, this dungeon, this dungeon. I was seeing parts of a game I'd never thought I'd see, and I was having fun with it. At the same time though, the final one takes far too long. I mean, as you can see there, my time's 2:20, and yes, that's probably a bad time, but there are just things that I'm thinking, well, why did I bother with that? There's then the remix puzzles, and the remix ones are pretty much the real reason to buy this, because it's all completely new. I mean, it's playing Donkey Kong with Link, so you can't actually jump, unlike when you play it as Jumpman, who can obviously jump. There's playing this one here, which again is Donkey Kong, and I'm playing it in the dark. I've got a little spotlight on me. There's Mario levels that are covered in ice. There's just all sorts of cool stuff that you don't ever see in the NES games, so the remix puzzles are pretty much my favourite of the lot because it's always something new. There's Mario levels which now have Banzai Bills on them when they never used to have Banzai Bills, you know. One of the things that keeps you playing as well as obviously getting a high score, getting a good star rating and that, is you might have noticed the green symbol with a B on it. Basically that's bits, and they unlock stickers which you can then use on Miiverse, which I've never touched Miiverse and I never will, but I'm highlighting some games now and you can see what some people, I mean, if you just look to the right of the screen, you can see what some people are accomplishing with these stickers and that. It's just, I suppose if you're into Miiverse, then it's a quite cool thing. As well as certain things which are probably a bit simple, like, I mean, there's some puzzles where you have to play them upside down. You're just playing a regular level but you're playing it upside down. Or this one, which is probably the simplest of the simplest, you're playing it backwards. So instead of playing this Mario level left to right, you're playing right to left, and you've just got to get to the goal as fast as you can. And it's just one of those things. You've also got a life limit, as you might notice in the top right corner. However, this is where some of the problems start to come in. Some games don't make sense to have the life limit. It would be so much nicer and better if on all of the games there was a retry function. The amount of times that you sit and you do a puzzle and you constantly have to retry, you have to sit through the menu telling you that you didn't do it, which you already know you didn't do it. Or if you've lost all your lives on a one where you've got to play 7 stages, the best you can do is get 1 star, so you have to restart it. But again, there isn't just a restart, you've got to go all the way through and it tells you what you've done and it gives you bits and this, that and the other. And overall, it kind of kills any momentum that the game has, and for a game of this kind, that is essential to have a retry. I mean, you think it's something you take for granted all the time until it's not there, and then you keep thinking, where is it? Why isn't it there? There's also a timer, and I know I've already shown Excite Bike off, but I believe I said, and if I didn't, I meant to, I'm not going to be showing all 16 games off. I'm not going to be showing music from all of them. I mean, it's the NES music. Nothing's different, you know. If you heard it before, you'll have heard it again. So I need to go back to Excite Bike because this is probably the best place to actually show it off. And I'm starting to think that my vision's even worse than before because I've passed it about 3 times there. So I'm probably best off going for something like this. This should be a full race, just simply by the time. So beat the 3rd best time. So it says there in the bottom left corner, the 3rd best time is 1 minute 24. Unfortunately, this one isn't going to do though because there's not a timer on the right, and that's what I need to have. So it's whether or not there's actually which one of these has it, because there's 3 timers essentially, and it's badly broken. Right, this one here, there, same again, 3rd best time is 1:24. Now as you can see, I've got 130 seconds on the right clock, so it's pretty much giving me enough that I need to do. So as much as this might be boring and as much as I'm probably running out of things to say, I'm now just going to have to beat this race, which I should hopefully be able to do, especially seeing as I was saying I was decent at Excite Bike earlier. And this will be where it's probably the best place to show you how broken certain parts are, because 1 minute 24, 130 seconds is 1 minute and 30 seconds if my math has not failed me. Oh, I've overheated my car, bike, so that's a bit of a schoolboy error, probably because I'm not really concentrating. And anyway, I've done all that, and I bet you the time at the end does not reflect the time that I have actually done. So keep an eye when it's up to the end of the timer in the top right, the timer in the bottom right, and then it'll come up what my total time is. And it's this sort of thing that annoys the hell out of me. And no, I don't mean overheating, which I can't believe I've done that again. We all knew I was going to fail miserably at the game that I said I was actually decent at. It's just one of those things in life, really. Either way, I should be coming up to the end. Don't want to overheat for a 4th time or so. Right, so I did it in 1:15 with the timer was still going there until I got there. And then watch so 1:15, I had 9 seconds left there, so I've done it in 121. And the time at the end, 121.2. And that's one of the rare times that it's even been close to being accurate. Because sometimes it's just off wildly. I mean, there was a Mario level that my brother did. It was one of the first Mario levels. He had 120 seconds to get to the end. He beat it with 75 seconds left. His time was 26 seconds. And we cannot work that out at all. What sort of math, in what universe does that add up? It just makes absolutely no sense. And he did beat the whole level. It wasn't one of these where you've just got to do different sections. It was just one level, get to the goal. He had a time of 120. He beat it with 75 on the clock. His completion time was 26. Makes absolutely no sense. So it's almost as if there's an invisible timer, and that's the most important timer of the lot, the one that you can't actually see. So sometimes you're replaying games and you really don't have a clue if you're doing well or you're doing bad, and it's just things like this that need ironing out, things like the retry, things like a better clock system. Loads of people are complaining that there's no multiplayer and there's no online leaderboards. Well, there is kind of an online leaderboard. I've already shown it off. It's the fact that you've got Miiverse in it, and the Miiverse post, I mean, our best time, mine and my brother's, I can't remember who got this one, was 25.6. That guy's best time was 19.9, so we know we've done it badly compared to him. Yes, there isn't a full-on traditional leaderboard where you can view the top 200,000, but even when you do have those leaderboards, I'd be amazed if people are actually going all the way through them all. I sometimes wonder why they're even there. And multiplayer, you've kind of got multiplayer in the fact that it's something that it's perfect to take turns with. That's all I've ever done with it. Me and my brother just literally pass the gamepad over to each other. And we each have different ways of play. He says it plays better on the gamepad. I prefer the TV, and part of why he says it plays better on the gamepad is because the two of us have noticed there's almost HD lag on the games, because I mean we've been playing these games for years now and we've never had any problems, but things that we used to be able to do on all these games we can now no longer do because the timing's just that little bit off. And I don't know if it's because we're playing them on the Wii U, I don't know if it's because I'm imagining these are based on the 60Hz versions, which I've noticed whenever I've played a 60Hz VC game, when I'm used to the 50Hz version, it just feels a little bit iffy. I don't know what it's down to, but all of that, it just means that it's, again, something that they would have to work on, I think, in the second one to make it better, because sometimes you do feel like the game itself screwed you over and not that you've been bad on it. There's a section on Ice Climber when you're doing those. If there was a, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, if there was a share function like on the PS4, the thing that I ridiculed for years, saying that I would never use, and, well, not years, I suppose it was a couple of months since it was announced, the thing I said I'd never use, I'm kind of wishing that this had it, because there's some deaths that we could show you that just totally prove the point of sometimes it really does feel like the game screwed you. You'll jump and you'll just go straight through a block, a full block's worth, and it makes no sense why things like that weren't ironed out. And it's why, again, sometimes the game you love it and sometimes you absolutely hate it, because sometimes you do feel like you've been screwed. So there are some things they could work on, but I honestly don't think multiplayer is one of them. Yeah, they could probably do a better system with an online leaderboard, and yeah, I suppose they could do some puzzles designed purely for multiplayer, but then it would mean that unless you had someone in your life who was willing to play it with you, and not everyone is willing to play old games, even though this is technically a new game featuring old games, then it's just something that I think, without then having online, and then the fact that if any lag could screw you over, and you see what I mean? It's why I really don't think multiplayer is needed at all on this game. I just really don't. So it's one of those. It's an odd one to see if I can recommend it or not. If you absolutely adore all things NES, then it's probably worth a look in, because you'll probably have some good fun with it. There's other times though that you'll probably find it incredibly frustrating, like for example this, which I'm glad that's kind of happened 4 times now. how I've actually went through a full block, and it's got to be some sort of visual glitch or something that I know my timing must be off because I must have to be jumping later. But it's things like that you'd think they would have ironed out, because there are certain times where you just think, what the hell? So yeah, it's probably worth a look in. It would have been better if there was actually a demo, because I think this is one of those games that a lot of people would prefer to try before they play it. So there we go then. That's been the review. I hope you found it helpful. I don't score the games because that's based purely on opinion, so instead I'll leave you to make your own mind up. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about the game that I didn't answer in the vid or that hasn't been answered in the comments, then feel free to ask and I'll help if I can. Also, if you did find it helpful, don't forget to check out my channel because there's plenty more like this up there, and don't forget to subscribe because there'll be plenty more to come as well. So until next time, this has been Demon212, signing off.